My name is Emily Carter, and I live in Manchester, England. I work at a small international training center that teaches leadership and communication skills to young people from different countries. Usually my days are quiet. I make tea, check emails, prepare class notes, and help new students understand how life works in the UK. But everything changed the day the students arrived from Pakistan. Ayan and Zara. I did not know that these two young people would become the center of one of the most powerful stories I would ever witness. Looking back, I can say one thing with honesty. The world saw beasts, but I saw something very different growing inside them. Something bright, something legendary. The morning they arrived was cold and cloudy, the typical Manchester weather that surprises no one. I waited with a clipboard in my hand, tapping my pen slowly while watching people come out of the airport gates. Then I saw them, a young man and a young woman walking together, both holding their bags tightly. They looked a little nervous, a little tired, and very curious about everything around them. Ayan was tall, calm-looking with sharp eyes that paid attention to every detail. Zara was confident, standing straight with a soft smile as if she refused to show fear. When they reached me, they greeted me politely, and their English, though simple, was clear and warm. I welcomed them, but inside I felt something unusual, like their presence brought a new kind of energy into the room. On the way to the training center, I talked with them to make them comfortable. Ayan told me he wanted to study how leadership worked in the West, especially how people managed teams using trust instead of authority. Zara said she dreamed of becoming a public speaker who could speak between cultures, something that could bring understanding where misunderstanding usually lived. Their dreams sounded big, but their eyes showed they were serious. There was courage in them, but also kindness. I remember thinking, why would anyone ever fear these two? But soon I learned that the world is sometimes too quick to judge. That afternoon, when we reached the center, some of my coworkers whispered things that I wish I could forget. People judged Ayan and Zara by their clothes, their accents, and even their silence. One person said, they look intense, almost dangerous. Another said, be careful, they seem strange. Their words hurt me, even though they were not about me. I looked at Ayan and Zara and wondered how many times they had heard such comments in their lives. Yet they stayed calm, their faces gentle, as if they had long accepted that the world often fears what it does not understand. I decided that I would be different. I would see them for who they were, not what others assumed. Over the next few days, I watched them closely, not because I feared them, but because I wanted to understand them better. Ayan was quiet but thoughtful. He listened to every instruction with full attention. During group discussions, he waited until everyone finished speaking before sharing his ideas. When he talked, his words were simple but strong, and other students found themselves nodding without realizing why. Zara, on the other hand, was lively. She asked questions with curiosity, encouraged shy students to speak, and even helped me arrange the classroom. She had a natural leadership style, soft but impossible to ignore. Still, some students kept their distance. They avoided sitting next to Ayan and Zara. They avoided starting conversations with them. It was subtle, but it was real, and I could see that it hurt the two of them, even though they tried to hide it. Their eyes told me more than their words ever did. Sometimes, when they thought no one was looking, Ayan would stare out the window, lost in thought, and Zara would sit quietly, her hands clasped together as if she was holding on to herself. Everything changed. One evening during a sudden incident, the moment when the world's assumptions broke, and their truth rose. It happened during a late-night workshop. We were in a hall on the second floor when a loud noise shook the building. At first, everyone froze. Then someone shouted, "There's smoke downstairs." Panic spread like fire itself. Students rushed toward the exit, pushing each other, crying, not knowing what to do. My heart raced as I tried to calm them, but fear had already taken control. While everyone else ran without direction, Ayan did the opposite. He moved toward the staircase instead of away from it. I shouted for him to stop, but he didn't listen. He saw a frightened student trapped near the hallway, coughing from the smoke that was rising from below. Without hesitation, Ayan covered his face with his sleeve, rushed forward, lifted the student, and guided him toward a safer corner. His movements were quick but controlled. He was not reckless, he was brave. At the same time, Zara took charge inside the hall. She stood on a chair and shouted loudly, but clearly, "Everyone stay together. Do not push. Move in a line toward the left exit." Her strong voice broke through the panic. Students listened to her. Even teachers listened. She guided people one by one, checking that no one fell, no one was left behind. Her calm presence felt like a light inside the chaos. By the time the fire alarms finally activated and the emergency team arrived, most of the danger had passed. The smoke was from a small electrical spark, nothing life-threatening, but no one knew that at the time. Fear had made the situation much worse. Yet Ayan and Zara had acted with pure courage and pure clarity. When everyone gathered outside, shivering in the cold night air, people looked at them with new eyes. Ayan's face was smudged with dust, and Zara's hands were shaking slightly, but their expressions were steady. For a moment, no one spoke. Then someone whispered the truth that everyone now understood. They saved us. In that moment, I felt proud, not of myself, but of them. The same people who were judged, avoided, and misunderstood had become heroes, and they did it not for praise or attention, but because it was the right thing to do. That night, I realized something important. The world might see beasts, but legends are born in moments of courage, not in the opinions of others. Ayan and Zara did not just prove people wrong. They showed us what real strength looks like. Strength that rises from kindness, not power. From calm, not fear. And this was only the beginning of their story. My name is Michael Turner, and I live in Boston, USA. I work as an assistant coordinator at an international youth conference that happens every year in New York. Young people from all over the world come to share ideas about leadership, culture, technology, and peace. I meet many faces every year, but there are only a few people I can never forget. Ayan and Zara are two of them. When I first saw them, I did not know anything about their past in the UK. I did not know about the smoke in the building, the panic, and how they helped save people. I only knew what I saw, and what others whispered. And at first, just like many people, I did not see legends. I only saw strangers I did not understand. The first time I noticed them was at the opening session. The hall was huge, full of flags and banners. People wore name tags and smiled politely, pretending not to be nervous. At my registration desk, I checked everyone's name and country. Brazil, welcome. Japan, nice to meet you. Kenya, great to have you. Then two names made me pause. Ayan Khan, Pakistan, and Zara Malik, Pakistan. I looked up and saw them standing side by side, calm and quiet. He wore a plain shirt and simple jacket. She wore a smart, modest outfit with a scarf around her neck, not on her head, but still different from what others wore. Their faces were serious, but their eyes were soft. Welcome to the Global Youth Conference, I said with a friendly tone. They both smiled and thanked me politely, but as they walked away, another volunteer leaned closer to me and whispered, "They look intense, don't they?" Someone else muttered, "Security said to keep an eye on anyone who looks suspicious." I didn't answer, but those words stayed in my mind. Suspicious, intense, dangerous. None of those words fit the quiet smiles I had just seen, yet they were already sticking like labels. During the first workshop, I had to help set up the microphones and slides. The topic was technology and trust in a divided world. When I entered the room, I saw Ayan sitting alone at a table, reading something on his laptop. Most of the other participants were already in groups, laughing and chatting. Zara sat with a group, but I could see the small distance between her and the others. They talked to each other more than they talked to her. She listened carefully but spoke only when someone asked her, directly. The moderator asked everyone to form mixed country groups and share their experiences with discrimination or misunderstanding. I stood at the back, watching. When it was Zara's turn, she spoke slowly but clearly. She talked about how people sometimes looked at her like she was dangerous just because of her name, her passport, or her clothes. She did not sound angry. She sounded tired. Tired but strong. A boy from another country asked, "How do you keep going when people think bad things about you?" Zara smiled a little and said, "I cannot control what they think. I can only control what I do. If I act with respect and courage, then maybe one day they will see me differently. And if they don't, at least I will still know who I am." Her answer surprised me. It was simple, but it hit something inside me. Maybe because I realized that I had already allowed some of those wrong thoughts to sit in my own mind. I had not said them, but I had heard the whispers and let them grow quietly. Later that day, we had a tech challenge. It was like a small competition where groups had to design an idea for an app that helps build trust between different cultures. I noticed that Ayan was very active in his group. His English was careful but clear. He explained how social media sometimes makes people fear each other more, not less. He suggested an app where people could share their daily life in simple ways, like what they eat, where they walk, small family moments, so others could see how normal they really are. If people see that our normal is just like their normal, he said, maybe they will stop imagining monsters in their minds. One of the American students in his group looked doubtful and asked quietly, "Do you really think people will stop being afraid? Especially of, people from your region?" It was an uncomfortable moment. A few students looked down or away. Ayan did not get angry. He just nodded slowly and said, "Fear does not disappear in one day, but someone has to start. Someone has to try. If not us, then who?" His voice was calm, but there was something powerful in it. That night, we had a city tour. Our bus took us through the busy streets of New York. There were lights everywhere, horns, people crossing roads, food smells from every corner. Everyone took pictures and laughed. I sat near the front, next to the driver, helping guide tourists. When I turned around, I saw Ayan and Zara sitting near the middle of the bus. A group of students behind them were talking quietly and looking at them from the corner of their eyes. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught words like scary, maybe extremists, and you never know. My chest felt tight. Part of me wanted to turn around and shout, "You're wrong," but I didn't. I stayed quiet. And in that moment, I realized that silence can also be a kind of weakness. The turning point came the next day. During a special event at the conference center, we had invited a famous speaker from the USA to give a talk on global cooperation. The hall was packed. Security was strict. There were police officers and guards, metal detectors, cameras, everything. Before the talk started, I stood at the side of the stage, ready to handle any technical problems. The speaker stepped up to the microphone and began his speech. He spoke about fear, war, and unity. People listened quietly. Then suddenly, there was a loud crashing noise. One of the big light stands at the back of the hall had become unstable. Maybe someone had bumped into it. Maybe the base was weak. I don't know, but I saw it tipping forward, slowly at first, then faster. And underneath it, there were 2 rows of chairs filled with students who did not even know what was happening behind them. I heard someone scream. Time felt slow and fast at the same time. People started to stand up, confused. The guards looked around, trying to understand the situation. The light stand was heavy. If it fell, it could hurt many people badly, and that's when I saw movement fast, sharp, fearless. Ayan jumped up from his seat near the middle of the hall. He ran toward the falling stand. Zara was right behind him. I watched in shock as Ayan grabbed the metal frame with both hands, using all his strength to stop it from crashing down. His face tensed, his arms shaking, but he did not let go. Some students screamed and moved away, but Zara shouted, "Help him, don't just stare." Her voice cut through the noise like a bell. 2 more students ran forward, then 3 more. Together, they pushed the stand back and stabilized it until the guards arrived to secure it properly. No one was hurt, not one person, but it could have been a disaster. For a long moment, the hall was silent. The famous speaker on stage looked stunned. He stared at Ayan and Zara, breathing hard, their clothes a little dirty from the metal and dust. Then the whole hall began to clap. It was not polite clapping. It was loud, strong, honest applause. People stood up, cheering, calling their names, thanking them. Standing at the side of the stage, I felt something burn in my chest. Shame and pride mixed together. Shame that I had once allowed doubt to sit in my heart, and pride that these 2 people, who were judged so unfairly, had just saved us all from a terrible accident. Later, when things calmed down, I walked up to them. "Hey," I said, my voice a little shaky. "That was brave. You 2 were incredible." Zara smiled softly and said, "We did what anyone should do." Ayan looked at me and added, "Sometimes people decide what we are before they see what we do. But what we do still matters. Maybe one day they will see us as we really are." I looked into his eyes and said, "Honestly, I see you now." That night, when I wrote my report to the conference director, I ended with these words. "People came here seeing danger in 2 quiet students from Pakistan. But I saw them hold up the weight of our fear with their own hands. They saw beasts. I saw the beginning of legends. And deep inside, I knew this was not the end of their story. It was only another step in the journey of Ayan and Zara, the journey from being feared to being remembered." My name is Sophia Hayes, and I am a junior reporter for a media agency in London. I usually report on student events, charity projects, and cultural programs, nothing too big, nothing too dramatic. But the day I met Ayan and Zara, I realized some stories do not need explosions or scandals to be powerful. Some stories are powerful because of the people living inside them, and Ayan and Zara were exactly that: quiet storms. Soft, but strong. Misunderstood, yet extraordinary. I first heard their names from my editor. He walked into the office holding a file and said, "We have 2 international students who made headlines in New York by stopping a hall accident. They are in London now for a youth leadership event. Cover their story." His tone was casual, but I could see curiosity in his eyes. "They're from Pakistan," he added. "People think they are unusual. Some even think they're dangerous, but others say they're inspiring." That mix of opinions grabbed my attention immediately. When I arrived at the event hall, it was buzzing with students from more than 20 countries. Flags hung from the ceiling, and the stage lights were already warming the air. My camera hung around my neck as I scanned the crowd. Then I saw Ayan and Zara standing near the side wall, talking quietly to each other. Ayan looked calm, almost unreadable, but there was softness in his eyes. Zara looked confident, but I noticed she checked her surroundings carefully, as if always aware of how people judged her. Before approaching them, I decided to observe. I wanted to understand them before asking questions. Many students looked at Ayan and Zara with curiosity, some with admiration after hearing about New York, some with suspicion, and some with simple confusion. I caught whispers like, "Those 2, they're the heroes from the USA event." Others said, "Be careful, they look scary." It surprised me how the same people could be labeled both heroes and threats at the same time. Humans are strange like that. When I finally walked up to them, Zara smiled politely, and Ayan nodded in greeting. There was respect in their behavior, not arrogance. I introduced myself and explained that I was covering the event. "I'd like to learn about your experiences," I said. "Not just what happened abroad, but what you want people to understand about you." Zara exchanged a quick look with Ayan. Then she said, "We are not special. We are just people trying to do our part." I raised an eyebrow. "Well, not everyone runs toward danger. Some people run away." Ayan gave a small smile. "Courage is not always running into danger. Sometimes courage is simply staying kind when people expect you to be cruel." That sentence stayed with me the entire day. The event officially started with a workshop about breaking cultural barriers. I sat near the front, camera ready, notebook open. When the speakers invited participants to share their experiences, Zara stood up. Her presence changed the room instantly. She spoke with simple English, but her voice was clear, steady, and full of meaning. When I first traveled to the West, she said, people looked at me like I was something dangerous, not because they knew me, but because of what they imagined. Many saw a threat before they saw a human, but I cannot blame them completely. Fear grows easily in places where knowledge is small. The room was silent. Still, she continued, it hurts to be seen as something you are not. And yet, we choose who we become. We choose how we answer fear with fear or with patience. Her words were soft, but they landed heavy. I saw students nodding, some even looking emotional. Then the moderator invited Ayan to share his thoughts. He stood up slowly, choosing his words with care. When the world sees you as dangerous, he said, you begin to question yourself. You wonder if you must talk louder to prove your peace, or stay silent to avoid being misunderstood. Both choices are heavy, but we keep going because we know our truth. He paused, then added, people looked at us as if we were beasts, but every day we choose not to become what they fear. That is our quiet victory. I felt a chill run through me. These two were not simply students. They were storytellers of their own struggle. They were walking lessons in patience and dignity. After the workshops, the event moved to a large auditorium where Zara had been invited to give a short speech. I stood behind the stage with my camera ready. Zara looked nervous for the first time since I met her. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the note cards. You'll be great, Ayan said quietly beside her. She nodded, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the stage. When she began speaking, the entire hall fell silent. Her voice was not loud, but it reached everywhere. She spoke about stereotypes, about living abroad, about the burden of proving innocence again and again. But she also spoke about beauty in kindness, beauty in connection, beauty in understanding. Some people fear us, she said, not because of who we are, but because of what they don't know. Our job is not to fight them. Our job is to shine so brightly that their fear becomes unnecessary. The hall erupted in applause. Some students even stood up. I captured every moment, every expression. Watching her command the room was like watching someone step into her true strength. After the event, I interviewed a few students. One said, I judged them before hearing them. I was wrong. Another said, Zara made me realize how powerful brave kindness can be. A third said, I wish more people spoke like them. Maybe the world would be easier. When the crowd finally left, I sat with Ayan and Zara in a quiet corner. You both changed the energy of the entire event. I told them honestly. Zara smiled a little. We only spoke our truth. Ayan looked at me with those calm eyes and said, people see beasts when they fear shadows, but legends are born when you walk in light, even when others want to keep you in darkness. His words struck me deeply. As a journalist, I often searched for dramatic stories, big events, big headlines, but the biggest stories are sometimes two quiet people standing against a world full of misunderstanding. That night, when I returned to the office, my editor asked, so, are they as strange as people say? I shook my head firmly. No, I said, they're extraordinary. Not because they saved people in New York, but because they face judgment with grace. The world may see beasts, but what I saw today were two legends in the making, and I knew, without doubt, their journey was far from over. My name is Ayan Khan. For most of my life, people saw me before they heard me, judged me before they knew me, feared me before they understood me. I never blamed them fully. Fear is an old habit of the world, but I always wished someone, somewhere, would look past the surface and see the truth of who I am. I did not expect that the truth would be found only after fire, falling metal, and moments that forced me to choose between fear and courage. But maybe that is what life does, it pushes you into storms so the world can see your light. When I left Pakistan, I carried two things with me, my mother's prayers and my own quiet determination. I was not the loudest student, not the bravest warrior, not the smartest mind, but I had patience, I had discipline, and I had a heart that refused to turn cold even after years of being misunderstood. Zara and I came from different cities, different families, yet we shared one burden, the world's suspicion. Perhaps that was why we became close even before we understood each other fully. We understood the weight the other carried. People often say, you look serious, as if seriousness is a crime. They say, you look dangerous, as if appearances decide destiny. In airports, eyes followed me with caution. On trains, people sometimes shifted away from me. Even at the training center in Manchester, some avoided sitting near me. I did not hate them for it. I only wished they knew how far from the truth they were. When Emily treated us with fairness, it felt like sunlight after long clouds. I respected her instantly, not because she praised us, but because she listened. Listening is a rare kindness. Most people hear only their fears. The night of the smoke incident at the center was the first time I understood how deeply Zara and I would be tested in this journey. When the alarm failed to ring and the hall filled with panic, something inside me became still. Fear screams, but purpose whispers. I heard the whisper. The student coughing near the hallway reminded me of my younger brother back home. I could not think. I could only act. Lifting him, guiding him, it felt natural, not heroic. And when I looked back and saw Zara standing on a chair controlling the chaos with her voice, I realized she had more courage in her words than most people have in their hands. But even after that night, even after saving people, some still looked at us with doubt. That is when I learned something important. Good deeds do not erase fear. They only challenge it. In New York, the pattern repeated. Michael was kind, but I could sense his hesitation at first. The whispers behind us on the bus hurt more than I showed. Zara noticed. Of course, she always notices. She once told me, silence cuts deeper than words, but we must not let their silence change our spirit. I admired her strength. She admired my patience. Together, we balanced each other. The accident with the falling light stand felt like destiny calling again. I still remember the metal groaning as it tilted forward. I remember students screaming, guards freezing, and Zara's voice rising like fire behind me. Help him. The weight of the stand burned through my arms, but my mind was calm. I did not see danger. I saw people who would be hurt if I did nothing, and I could never live with that. When others joined and pushed the stand back, something changed in the room. For the first time, people did not see a threat when they looked at me. They saw someone who protected them. That was the moment. I realized something painful. People only trust you after you bleed for them. Back in London, during the leadership event, I felt different. Not lighter, but clearer. Sophia, the journalist, had eyes that searched for truth, not drama. When she asked us to share our story, I spoke honestly because lies were useless now. When the world sees you as dangerous, I told the audience, you begin to question yourself. But we keep going because we know our truth. What I did not say was how tired I sometimes felt. How heavy the responsibility was. How much I wished for a day when Zara and I could simply exist without having to prove our humanity. But exhaustion is not an excuse to stop. My father once told me, a lamp does not stop shining just because darkness surrounds it. I wanted to be that lamp. I wanted Zara to be free from proving herself every day. People often think legends are born in war, but legends can also be born in classrooms, in conference halls, in moments where you choose dignity over anger. I learned that my silence was not weakness. My calm was not emptiness. My seriousness was not danger. It was focus. It was strength. One evening, after the London event ended, Zara and I walked outside into the cool night. The sky was gray, like it often is in the UK, but there was a softness in the air. She looked up and said, "Do you think they see us differently now?" I thought for a moment. Some do, I said. Some never will. But that's not our battle. Our battle is with ourselves to stay true no matter how they see us. She smiled, small, tired, but real. Then what are we becoming? She asked. Not what they feared, I said. Something else. Her eyes shone in the dim streetlight. Something legendary. I hesitated, then nodded. Maybe. But legends are not born from applause. They are born from surviving misunderstanding with grace. That night, I wrote in my journal, the world saw beasts in us. But they forgot beasts do not save strangers. Do not calm crowds. Do not lift falling metal with bare hands. Do not speak softly when the world shouts. If we are beasts, then let us be beasts of courage, not of fear. Zara and I did not choose to become symbols. We only chose to do what felt right. But perhaps that is what makes legends. Not power, not fame. Just small moments of courage repeated again and again, until truth becomes louder than fear. And our journey was not finished. There was still one voice left to tell the world the heart of our story. That voice belonged to Zara. My name is Zara Malik, and this is the part of the story that belongs to Manat, because I am the hero. Not because I am the victim, but because I am the voice that learned to rise even when the world tried to quiet it. If you have read everything so far, you already know how others saw us. You know the eyes that followed us in airports. You know the whispers in conference halls. You know the hesitation, the fear, the distance. But what you may not know is how it felt from inside, how heavy the heart becomes when it must constantly explain, constantly soften itself. Constantly prove it is safe. I was 23 when I left Pakistan. I carried hope like a fragile glass bottle in my hands. I wanted to speak, to lead, to bridge cultures, to show the world that a girl from Lahore could be more than the stereotypes written about her. But I soon learned that when you look different, when your language is not perfect, when your name is unfamiliar, the world builds walls before you even arrive. Every step in the UK, every step in the USA, every room I entered, I felt myself collide with those invisible walls again and again. Ayan once told me, we walk through the world like people walking into cold water. It shocks us every time, but we keep going. He was right, and maybe that is why he became my closest companion on this journey. Not because we came from the same country, but because we carried the same weight in different ways. He held it quietly, I held it loudly, but it was the same weight. When the smoke incident happened in Manchester, I remember the moment I climbed onto the chair. My voice was shaking at first. Fear wanted to swallow me whole. I was afraid that no one would listen. I was afraid they would ignore me like they often did. But when I saw the panic in their faces, I knew silence was not an option. So I shouted, and they heard me. and something inside me changed forever. In New York, I watched Ion run toward the falling light stand without thinking of himself. When he lifted that heavy metal frame, when he stood between danger and dozens of strangers, I saw the truth of him, the truth the world often refused to see. He looked strong, yes, but strength without kindness is nothing. Ion's strength came from his heart. That day, when students and guards joined him, I realized something important. Courage is contagious. It spreads from one person to another, until fear has no place to sit. Sophia in London called us legends. Emily in Manchester said we were heroes. Michael in the USA wrote in his report that we saved people. But let me tell you my truth. We were just two tired young people trying to stop the world from misunderstanding us. We did not become courageous. We simply stopped running from our purpose. At the leadership event in London, when I stood on the stage to speak, my hands trembled. Not because I feared the audience, but because I feared being misunderstood again. I feared my voice would crack, that my message would drown in stereotypes. But the moment I saw all those faces, curious, confused, hopeful, I remembered why I came to the West in the first place. I came to be heard. I came to help others be heard. So I told them everything. I told them how girls like me, from countries like mine, are often painted as shadows, silent, dangerous, oppressed, unknown. I told them how tiring it is to explain that I am not a threat, that my scarf is a choice, that my voice is not weak, that my culture is not a cage. I told them that fear grows when stories are not shared, when bridges are not built, when conversations are not had, and when I said, our job is to shine so brightly that their fear becomes unnecessary, I felt something unlock inside me. The applause did not matter. What mattered was the light that entered the room, but the truest part of my journey came later. In a quiet moment, after the event, Ion and I walked outside. The night was calm, the world finally silent around us. Streetlights made long shadows on the pavement. We didn't speak at first. We just breathed, letting the weight of the day settle. Then I asked him, do you think we are changing anything? He looked at me with those steady eyes that always grounded me. Change is slow, he said, but every time one person sees us clearly, instead of fearfully, a small piece of the darkness breaks. We are not here to change everyone. We are here to change the world, one honest moment at a time. I thought about his words for a long time, and then I understood something deeply. Legends are not made from dramatic victories. They are made from small moments that pile up until the truth becomes louder than the lies. The world called us beasts because fear teaches people to see monsters even in the kindest faces. But the world also gave us the chance to become something else. And we chose it. We chose grace over anger. We chose patience over pride. We chose courage over silence. And every choice shaped our story. So here is my truth, written in simple words, so no one misreads it. We were never beasts. We were never threats. We were never shadows. We were young people carrying dreams too bright to hide. We were travelers searching for a place where our voices could rise. We were survivors of misunderstanding. We were lights walking into rooms full of doubt. We were legends not because the world called us legends, but because we refused to become what the world feared. This journey is not over. There are still eyes that will judge me. There are still whispers that will follow Ion, but now I walk forward with a new truth in my heart. If they see beasts, let them look again, because we have already chosen what we truly are, and we choose to be legends.